You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my top 10 best movies of 2022. Now, before we get into this ranking, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. This is it. 2022 has come to a close, and before we jump into a brand new year full of exciting projects on the horizon, let's take a look back at the best of the best from 2022. We also looked at the worst, ones we're happy to leave behind. So if you haven't checked out my worst of 2022 list, that has already been posted to the channel. But overall, I actually think this was a really strong year for films. Dwindling this down to a top 10 was, well, damn near impossible. That's why I have a ton of honorable mentions. So be ready for that. But from big budget blockbusters to long awaited sequels, great quiet indie films or insanely creative new starts, this year pretty much had something for everyone. Now, of course, everybody's list is going to look quite different, but there are several films other people absolutely fell head over heels for that I enjoyed, but didn't quite make this list. So just remember, if your favorite film does not make my list, that's because it's only my list. It's just my personal taste in the movies that resonated with me on a more personal level to make it here. I look forward to seeing everybody else's personal favorite films of the year list in that comment section down below, so make sure to chime in. Without further ado, let's jump in to the best films of 2022. Kicking us off at number 10, I have The Woman King, an absolute epic of historical fiction. Viola Davis is commanding on screen, an absolute tour de force performance. But do we expect anything less from the Queen? Lashana Lynch is yet again proving she is one of Hollywood's greatest up and coming assets. And Gina Prince Bythewood shows that she is one of the best directors in the game right now when it comes to action. Because even when you don't love the film overall, whoo, how she directs this action is undeniable. This is one of the most beautiful films of the year. Absolutely gorgeous. The action set pieces are right up there, rivaling some of the best in big budget blockbuster filmmaking. The story was exhilarating. Of course, there was controversy surrounding the historical accuracy of the story, but I also don't know how many of those people actually watched the film because, yeah, we touch on the actual history of what this tribe was doing and their role to play in the slave trade. But like all historical fictions, yeah, they deviate a little bit. They give us a feel good story, just like all the rest of them always have. Here, a strong, badass black woman kicking ass, taking no names, and giving us a film this freaking good. Sailing into the number 9 position, I have Triangle of Sadness. In a year full of satirical comedies that take down the upper class, Triangle of Sadness proved to be my favorite of them all. Simply put, this one made me laugh the most. I found it to be absolutely hysterical, even amongst the gross out, disgusting scenes that are included. If you know, you know. I was laughing throughout the entirety of the film. It had a lot to say about the rich and excess without ever feeling overwrought or preachy. We have an ensemble full of amazing performances, including breakout star Dolly De Leon, as well as Harris Dickinson, who turns in one of his best performances to date, certainly since Beach Rats. The film is hilarious. The set pieces are over the top, but in the best possible ways. Now, if only that third act was a little bit more succinct, this probably would have broke all the way up into my top 5, but as it stands, still one of my favorite films of the year. One of the best movie-going experiences I had in 2022. Triangle of Sadness is how you do satirical commentary right. Slicing and dicing into the number 8 position, I have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. An amazing year for animation, and sitting right there amongst the best of them is a DreamWorks sequel none of us were really asking for, but once we got it, all of us were eating up like a good dose of catnip. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish delivers amazing, innovative animation to be put up there with the likes of the Mitchells versus the Machines and Into the Spider-Verse. DreamWorks has really stepped up their animation game in 2022, and that was purely evident here with Puss in Boots 2. Outside of the stunning animation, the film is endlessly funny, full of a lot of heart and great character work that gives us a story much more mature and developed than I could have imagined from a Puss in Boots sequel. Antonio Banderas was made for this character, and you can just feel his love for this little feline ringing through the screen. An absolute delight and one of the biggest surprises of 2022. I absolutely adored Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Soaring into the number 7 position, I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Did it. They delivered a sequel that lives up to the original amongst all the controversy, amongst all of the setbacks that this crew faced in getting this film to big screens. Wakanda Forever came out as a beautiful work of art. Ryan Coogler delivers one of the most gorgeous films in the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From a cinematography standpoint, it is a knockout. And the acting, some of the best Marvel has ever seen, with Angela Bassett turning in one of the top tier performances in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even Letitia Wright is fantastic here as Shuri, and of course, Tenochtitlan is amazing. What perfect casting for Namor. The action set pieces are even bigger and more grand. The visual effects are a huge step up from the first film, but it's the story that really made this one sing. They were able to beautifully balance paying tribute in an authentic and genuine manner to Chadwick Boseman and the character of T'Challa, the legacy he's leaving behind, and balance that with a story that moves us forward, making Shuri's ascension to the Black Panther film earned and warranted, giving us this story of these two societies full of people of color that have managed to resist Western colonization. And the takedown of European colonization here is done so well. The parallels between our two nations of color is beautifully depicted on the big screen. Score is fantastic, the production design is amazing, and those costumes are to die for. While I still think the original Black Panther, even with those wonky special effects, is a bit superior, this was more than a worthy follow up to one of Marvel's best. Swimming into the number 6 position, I have The Whale. I know this is going to be quite the controversial opinion because this turned out to be one of the most divisive films of 2022. And if you had problems with this film, if you had problems with depiction of body image, I fully support and understand your viewpoint, and I will not argue anything against it. I understand why many find it manipulative. I understand why many had issues when it came to The Whale. At the end of the day, I can only base this list off of how I felt watching it. And even after a second viewing, I really was moved when it came to this film. Having heard the writer of the original play speak about his own experiences and how they formed his script, And seeing that translated onto the big screen, seeing a pseudo autobiographical depiction from the incomparable Brendan Fraser delivered with that much passion and empathy really moved me. I thought Brendan Fraser was fantastic, and the depiction of our main character here was really something special. Upon first viewing, I found the daughter very, very off putting, but I personally felt her transformation a lot more on second watch. And it really hammered home the idea of hurt people hurting people. This film is all about how we treat others and how that is internalized. And I thought it was all handled really, really well. Understanding this character and his traumatic life experiences. Understanding his best friend played immaculately by Hung Chow, and understanding this young girl who's been hurt. All of it comes together in one of the most impactful films of 2022, in my opinion. The original score is absolutely fantastic and utterly moving. Yeah, maybe it's heavy handed. And again, I'm not going to discredit you if you found it offensive, but for me, The Whale was one of the most moving films I watched in 2022. Kicking off our top five, at number five, I have Good Luck to You, Leo Grant. Now, I saw this back at Sundance Film Festival through their virtual screening process, and I absolutely fell head over heels. First off, Emma Thompson gives an amazing performance, one of her best performances in years. Such a vulnerable, relatable, amazing depiction of this woman. And as someone who is nowhere near in the same demographic as this character, I related so hard to her and her struggles. I was able to find so much of myself in this film, and I found that to be such a great testament of the writing and the empathy, the exploration of not only sexuality, but of repression, and in many ways, regret and finding yourself a new life and new lease on life. The conversations they have are amazing and wonderful explorations of character. That's really what this entire film is, an exploration of character, a deconstruction of pent up repression that worked so well for me. As I mentioned, I just related so much to this on a lot of personal levels that I wasn't anticipating heading into the film. And yeah, it takes a while to get to the sexy time, but once we do, it more than pays off. One of the very first new releases I saw in 2022, but one of those that really stuck with me throughout the year. Coming in at the number four position, I have the Banshees of Inisherin. Welcome back, Martin McDonagh. This is the peak of what he does so well as a filmmaker and a screenwriter. Banshees of Inisherin delivers dark comedy excellence, really profound in what it's saying about loneliness and friendship, even the idea of rejection. It all just rang so authentic in the most dark, exaggerated, and twisted way. Colin Farrell delivers this lead performance with such earnest beauty. What a fantastic year Colin is having. And it all culminated with one of the best performances of his entire career. Mary Condon was an absolute revelation for me. I thought she was fantastic. And of course, Brendan Gleeson is amazing. Barry Keoghan gives one of his better performances. And then we can't forget Miss Jenny, the miniature donkey, who is absolutely fantastic here and made me fall in love. Film is hilarious, it's disturbing, and it leaves you on such a profound note. I could not stop thinking about the Banshees of Inisherin after watching it. A return to form for one of the great dark comedy filmmakers of our time, Martin McDonagh. Welcome back. Banshees of Inisherin was fantastic. At number 3, I have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I am a sucker for stop motion animation, especially when it is done to pure perfection, as is the case with Pinocchio. Honestly, the really dark, haunting tale of Pinocchio mixed with the art form of stop motion animation, all handed to Guillermo del Toro, a match made in heaven. I was so excited when I heard this was happening, and it more than lived up to expectation. The animation on display is the beautiful art I had hoped for. The character designs are absolutely fantastic, and I always appreciate Del Toro bringing in his own influence and those ancient Mexican designs into his work here, and him bringing those ancient Mexican designs into his work. Oh, the craftsmanship in the art pieces here was next level. Character work was also fantastic. The voice acting was amazing here. And the connections they make, the characters and how they interact with each other and interact with us, the audience, works so amazingly well. It brings a new emotional core to the story that I personally had never felt to this degree previously. And we set that against fascist Italian backdrop with Mussolini, and it just works. This is a darker Pinocchio tale, which is saying something because even Disney's version is quite dark. It's a story that explores religion, explores what family means, it explores fascism, it explores purpose and the meaning of life, all of which it handled in such beautiful ways. The ending of this film was one of the most profound conclusions to a movie I saw in 2022. It's honestly my favorite depiction of Pinocchio, including the classic Disney animation, and certainly including that wretched 2022 Disney live action remake. Del Toro delivered a perfect telling of Pinocchio. Bursting in at number 2, I have The Batman. The moment I saw it, I knew The Batman would be competing for a top spot on this list. I was completely floored by this film from my very first viewing. Technical filmmaking on display is next level. The cinematography, the set design, the actual direction of the film are all top tier. The original score, absolutely amazing from Michael Giacchino, and the acting is all fantastic. Robert Pattinson is able to convey so much just from eye acting in this film that I don't think we've ever seen in a depiction from Batman previously. The story itself is intriguing. It gives us those big action set pieces while also finally giving us Batman doing much more detective work. What this film does that often gets lost when it comes to Batman depictions is gives us the full scope of the character. Yes, it's dark and gritty, like we're always going to get with Batman. Hell, it even gives us like emo Bruce Wayne. But that's not the entirety of the personification here. He grows, he learns, and actually develops into a hopeful character by the end of this film. It's a young Batman who is learning his place as a hero within this dark idea of Gotham. And I actually found that messaging behind Batman to be quite profound. The development of fear to true heroicism was spectacular. Aldano is amazing as this new depiction of the Riddler. I thought Zoe Kravitz gave us an amazing rendition of Selena Kyle. Colin Farrell, he's back on the list. Amazing as Penguin. And Jeffrey Wright is stellar as Gordon. Really, everything about this film is top tier filmmaking. Easily the best comic book film adaptation of 2022. And as you can see, one of my absolute favorite films of the year. Now, before I unveil my favorite film of 2022, let's check out, well, an extensive list of honorable mentions that were just short of missing my actual top 10. Glass Onion gave us another fun and hilarious takedown of the wealthy with a little bit of a murder mystery twist. Wildcat showed us a traumatic healing of a wounded soldier through the guise of an animal documentary. It's equal parts cute and devastating. Prey revitalized the Predator franchise in the most fantastic way possible. Awesome, badass, and inventive. Till gave us a heartbreaking and emotional look at one of America's most infamous cases of lynching, delivered with heart and understanding rather than exploitative voyeurism. Till shows you how to show a harrowing story of Black history right. Next Exit was a film I saw at Denver Film Festival that really contemplated the meaning of life in an interesting fashion. Two stellar lead performances in one of the most unique looks at life and its meaning. After Sun takes a while to get where it's going, but once it does, it makes the entire ride that much more investing and emotional, with one of the most profoundly impactful endings of the entire year. RRR is balls to the wall filmmaking. It's Bollywood to the max with some of the most inventive action set pieces I've ever seen, and a story that adds layer upon layer upon layer, continue to add to these amazing characters put to screen. All Quiet on the Western Front is one of the most brutal films I saw in the entirety of 2022 that gives us the most harrowing take on war I have seen, one of the most effective anti war films to come out to date. The Menu delivers yet another satirical takedown of the wealthy class in this deliciously fun thriller. Great performances all around, but Ray Fiennes steals the show in this wonderful entree of a film. And finally, just barely missing out on my top 10, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was a hilarious stop motion animated film that was full of heart and earnest fun, a pure delight that I think everyone can love. And finally, my pick for the very best film of 2022 is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. There literally could be no other option. As soon as I saw this film earlier this year, I knew it was going to be hard to beat for my favorite film of 2022, and turns out it couldn't be beat. Saw this film 4 times in movie theaters and was entranced each and every one of them. This film goes balls to the wall, goes absolutely crazy with ridiculous multiverses at times make absolutely no sense. That plays all into the magic of what the film is saying, including the multiversal travel itself. But at the core is a purely human story that is relatable, that is profound, that is beautiful. It's actually quite a simple story told through an insane dressing. Xiao Yao gives a career defining performance that lets her show off every single aspect of her talents and showcase every aspect of what a great acting performance is. Choi Kwan returns to the big screen in a magnificent way, being the heartbeat of this extremely heartfelt film. We have Stephanie Hsu, who is stellar in her supporting role, a layered, deep, fantastic performance, all three of which combine for this tour de force known as EEAAO online. The action set pieces are mind blowing. The visual effects are fantastic. The original score is moving and epic. The editing is some of the most intricate work I have ever seen. It's a film that took me through the full gambit. Yes, it's a meme at this point. It's ridiculous and I hate reading it. But in the case of Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's true. I laughed, I cried, I wanted to die inside, and I cheered at the end. Every emotion is experienced over and over in this absolute sensational film. Not only is Everything Everywhere All at Once easily my favorite film of 2022. Honestly, it worked its way into my list of favorite films of all time. I've never experienced anything like this in a movie theater that equal parts entertained, equal parts confused, but most of all, profoundly moved me to this level. Honestly, this is what cinema is all about for me as a viewer. And that is why Everything Everywhere All at Once is easily my favorite film of 2022. So that's it. Those are my picks for the best films of 2022. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. I really want to see which films were your favorite from this past year. So leave those top 10 lists in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.